Hi guys, Scotty here with another DBZ Dokkan Battle video for you. In this video, we're going to be looking at how you can clear Stage 1 of the Greatest Tours event that was recently added. This is quite a difficult event, especially with the later bosses hitting incredibly hard. Tons of mechanics, lots of stuff. So let's jump right into it. We're going to be starting off going up against Lud. Now, Lud is pretty easy. I'm not going to go too in depth into him. So I'm going to have the big team up, main teams up on the left there. By that I mean the team I used to clear the event, and the support items along with support memories, and an alternate team if you don't have the Dimer headliner units there. I know that they are newer units, so they help out a lot. So there is an alternative team that it definitely can be done with a little bit more RNG, that you're gonna have to hit a couple more nullifications and things, but it definitely can be done with that team. Just need to get a little bit of luck with it, unfortunately. This team I'm using here eliminates a bit more of the RNG side of it. There's some, obviously STR Goku is such a fantastic tank. Having two of him is very useful for this event. So yeah, let's jump right into the first fight here that I'm going to explain, and that is Meta Rilldo. Okay, Meta Rilldo is not a crazy powerful boss. His most irritating mechanic is that he changes TEQ orbs to STR orbs, and then you get 100,000 damage done to you per STR orb picked up. Now, if you are stuck and you can't really go anywhere, or you just want to get some damage done and clear this boss quickly, because he only has 100 million health, so he's not going to stick around a long time if you can hit him with a very powerful, if you can hit him with like a fully charged up STR Dimer Goku. So sometimes if there's STR orbs there just in your path, it might be better to grab them with Goku. You'll take quite a bit of damage, but then he'll heal up as well. You will come out less health. You can't get a net positive from it, but it sometimes is better to just do it and then try heal up with the other characters, and that will let you finish this part of the fight faster, so that you're not stuck doing almost no damage because you're trying to give one or two key spheres and dodge the STR ones. That's what I would suggest for going against Meta Rilldo. The one mechanic I haven't put on three mechanics actually I haven't put on all of my slides, because all of the bosses do them, so let me just get it out the way, is all of them disable attack and defense reduction, they all grant immunity to being stunned, and they all nullify super attack ceiling effect, so none of those are going to work. I think one or two actually only do attack reduction in the beginning, but then once you get to baby onwards, it's attack and defense reduction no longer works, so it's not something we want to rely on, so don't try with that either. Once we get to a physical baby, fight ramps up quite significantly now from baby onwards. The first two fights are okay, pretty easy to handle, and now this gets a lot longer, so I will jump around a little bit as well, so that we're not just sitting here for 30 minutes watching everyone super. But physical baby youth, he does attack plus 30% per turn up to 60%, so he's nothing crazy. He's just going to be boosting his attack a little bit, and he does a 1.96 million super. He's got 150 million health, so a little bit more than Meta Rilldo, but he'll die pretty quickly with these units, and you'll move on quickly from this phase of the fight. Now, using these fights like Lud, Meta Rilldo, try get your rotations down, because you're not going to have time to shuffle rotations later on once the bosses start hitting hard. So try to get your rotations where I've set them out in the thing there, in the slide there, early on, so that you don't have to worry about sorting out your rotations now when you're starting to get hit by big supers, because one mistake and you will just die. Moving on to AGL Super Baby 1, we now have 200 million HP. We're going to be getting hit by a 2.4 million super, so the damage is now starting to ramp up. And he gets an attack plus 40% per turn, up to 80%, and he starts removing a key from your units. Only one key at the moment. As we go up in forms here, though, we will start losing more ki, so you'll see that happening. But again, AGL is not a huge amount of health, should be okay here. So I'll give you a couple of tips as well. Watch out for your Super Saiyan 4s, your physical ones here. These guys on the screen now, they need to super a lot. Yes, you're going to see them super a ton. It's like watching a GT movie for 30 minutes, but they do need those supers, so prioritize when you get into the fight. If you see them and you know that maybe you got AGL Gogeta and he's just going to wipe out the first boss, and if you put him in slot 1, try drag Super Saiyan 4s over to slot 1 rather. Let them do some lower damage supers, get their built up defense, their attack, all of that. you're trying to aim for, with these longer fights, you're trying to aim to give them at least 2 turns of stacking before you need to go into Gogeta. That will give Gogeta really solid, like 2 to 2.5 mil defense base, depending on how many dupes you have, and give him some nice attack stacks as well, so that he could do 40 to 50 mil supers. And yeah, it'll just matter a lot more as well for his counters if they're doing a lot more, and then we get that crit and that those huge ferocious counters. Well, not really counters, more nullification. But yeah, do try to do that. If you can't, it's not the end of the world, but you will see Gogeta will hit a lot less, and they'll just struggle a little bit more later on when the big damage comes. But we will be relying on his counters and nullifications more than anything else. Okay, moving on to Super Baby 2, TEQ. He is now a 350 mil HP boss. He fires off a 2.8 mil Ki Blast Super, and he gets attack plus 50% per turn up to 100%. Enemies Ki -2, and now we're starting to get 2 supers a turn. He can super twice a turn. Don't think it's guaranteed, but he can if he wants to. And he gets an attack boost after supering, so his normals will hit a bit harder, and his second super can hit a lot harder as well. So just watch out for that. Is a Ki Blast super, so you could put AGL Gogeta in front where you think the super's coming, and he should counter it hopefully. So that is going to be nice. And really, that is what these fights are really going to be about. There's a lot of gimmicks, there are a ton of mechanics happening. It's really just about keeping track of them, understanding what's going on, and then trying to outplay the bosses with units that can either counter, that can dodge, that can nullify. I'm not loving dodge in this fight because there's so many bosses and the fights go on so long. It's almost guaranteed that eventually you're going to get unlucky and they're going to hit you so hard you just die. So very much dodge or die event. But yeah, nullification as well can be very helpful to countering the supers. A lot of the Super Saiyan 4s have that, all that, and then we are saving some support items for later on. So don't use your support items now in this phase. I would say support items, I'll talk more on them later on when we get to Super 17 and when we get to Sign Shenron. But TEQ Baby is not terrible. He is starting to do a lot more damage though, and we're starting to get a bigger attack boost. So yeah, you just need to do some good damage to him, and we'll go on to Super Baby 2, the STR one. Okay, so that is TEQ Baby down. We're moving on to STR Super Baby 2. Now, we're going to get some big HP boosts here, 550 million HP. His big thing though now is we are at a 7 mil super, so very dangerous, and he can also super 3 times a turn. So that is pretty scary, and he'll also boost his super attack. He'll also boost his attack and defense by 50% after supering. So yeah, he can hit very, very hard. He reduces damage below a certain amount to 0. He's giving you Ki -3, and then the rest of the attack and defense reduction, immunity being stunned, all of that. So what you need to do here is we need to keep all our actives for this turn. We need to supercharge Gogeta with his active. We want to be using the STR Daima Goku. We need to be using his active as well to do as much damage as possible. Get us the big damage 24 Ki attack. And he should be able to tank these no problem. He's absolute monster of a unit, just tanking these 7 mil supers with no issue. So that does help having one on rotation. And then you just hope for him to hit his EX and do huge damage and nuke this boss down. What can be very useful here as well is hopefully you've saved Gogeta, the SS4 one I'm meaning, for his transformation for this point. He should have hopefully attacked twice, because he should be at like turn 5 now, so hopefully he's had 2 rotations of attacks, so he's really looking strong with his defense and attack stats. You can transform him, and that will also give you Scouter, which is very, very nice to see where the supers are coming. You can then use Gogeta, and you can use physical Gogeta, Int Gogeta, to try counter those supers. Int Gogeta will most likely die. I think guaranteed die if he doesn't counter those, so do just watch out for him. One unit though that can be, oh there we go, proving me wrong right there. But yeah, his counter does come out quite often, and he countered the super twice there, so save the run very much. Such an amazing unit, love it. Now this is kind of what you are hoping for, is a big big active turn here, and also look at how the super attacks are spread out. We've got looking through our scouter here, we've got the supers in slot 1, so we know that Goku can handle that no problem. And then we're going to slap Gogeta in slot 2 as well, so that he will hopefully, well, 70% chance he should counter and nullify that super attack and do a nice big damage. But we are doing huge amounts of damage here with our actives, and then we just let our units finish off. So try save as many of your actives for the final for this final phase here, the STR phase against the Giant Ape, and also save Gogeta if you can to as far as you can till the 7-mil super start hitting with Super Baby 2 STR, and that should hopefully get this done for you and get you past that stage. Because I know it's a bit of a stumbling block as well for a lot of people. That is a huge amount of damage coming out from Baby, and that 3 times a turn is crazy. Okay, so on to Android 17 and Hellfighter 17. Now, they hit very hard right off the bat, 5.5 mil super, so don't get caught out by that. They don't build up or anything, they just immediately come out swinging, and they can super twice a turn as well, so watch out for that. They have 200 million HP, so again on the smaller side for this fight, so you want to try hit them as hard as you can and get them burned down fast. They will deal 70% of your HP as damage, so you'll lose damage every turn. You can't be KO'd, but obviously if you get to 1 health, it's not going to be great. A normal will kill you, and then they just have the usual disables attack and defense reduction, so on and so forth. With these guys, you just should be fine with this team, unless you get unlucky with, say, the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and he doesn't dodge, and it's like a super. I think a normal, he should be absolutely fine, but if he doesn't dodge and it's a super, you are dead. But the rest of the units here should be perfectly fine. We actually were hoping to kind of have the Super Saiyan 4s on the first rotation against these guys, so that we could start building up stacks immediately, but it's not always a terrible thing to have them appear on turn 2 rather, because they can then transform. Obviously it'll only be with 1 stack of supers, but they can then transform sooner because you will have been in 4 turns of the battle when they come back around. So let's move on to into Super 17. Okay, Super 17 is quite difficult, so if you are very worried that you're going to die here, do not feel bad for popping an Icarus, maybe later on in the fight. Let's go through his stats. He has a 700 mil HP, so he's quite tanky. He does a 2.4 mil super, which sounds like nothing, but hold on, we'll get to that. He reduces damage below a certain amount to 0. He gets attack plus 30% with each Ki Blast super attack received, up to 150%, and he gets a 10% attack boost with each attack received, up to 300%. So that 2.4 mil can, after, if it goes on too long, can become, what, 4.5 times that. So yeah, that is nearly, what, like 13-14 million super. So you do not want to let him go on for too long. You want to try to kill him as quickly as possible, otherwise he'll just get absolutely out of hand, and he'll super summon your backline and you'll just die immediately. His most frustrating mechanic, and I absolutely hate this, is slot 1, turn 1, super that stuns. So your slot 1 is just out for the count every single turn unless they can dodge or counter. Now you could get away with letting another unit be slot 1, but we don't really have a lot of that in this team here, because the Super Saiyan 4s here, they cannot be stunned in slot 1 because they need to build up. It's much better to rather just lose some damage than not let the Super Saiyan 4s build up, and then they got no defense when they turn into Gogeta, they're not doing any damage. All that stuff. So yeah, unfortunately you can't really slot 1 them. They'll get stunned, they won't do any of their supers, and then they'll be sitting with not enough defense to survive later on. So do watch out for that as well. At least we do know where the super is always going to be. It's going to be in slot 1 99% of the time, I want to say. I don't know if it's guaranteed, but it felt like it was every single time in slot 1. Now, the other thing I haven't even got to here is that he AoEs as well once a turn. So it's not a crazy amount, 800,000, but obviously with the 450% increase on that. If the fight goes on too long, he will start hitting incredibly hard with his AoE, and that's never great for units that need super or need to stack a little bit in a turn before they can handle supers like that. So it really is a race against the clock with this guy. If you are getting to, say, later turns with him, it's been like 3 or 4 turns with him, it might just be worth popping an Icarus, having that extra 35% damage reduction so that your other units can survive and you can actually make it on to the next phase of the fight, get to the final phase, which is Shenron. Once we get to a point where we have pulled Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta out and he's stacked a little bit from the base units have stacked a little bit, we can try slot 1 him. Fortunately, we failed the counter here, which kind of sucks, so we do get stunned with him. But now we're surviving that without a problem, and we would have countered hopefully, and now we are letting the big guns not get stunned and do their hopefully EX super and do just massive damage to Super 17. So that is what you're trying to aim for, is getting to the point where you can put the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta into slot 1. He can hopefully counter that stunning super, and then you can do some big damage as well. Now, one thing I haven't really been able to show here is that Super Saiyan 3 AGL Goku, what you can do with him is, if you see that you've got your, if it's late enough in the fight that you've got your giant form available, if you go into giant form, you basically don't move the turn counter forward. All the supers, everything get fired off, and then you're only left with normals guaranteed in that turn when you come back around. So obviously you won't get hit by a super, you won't get stunned, you will then be able to do a full turn of damage as well. So use that as well. The AGL, that's why we brought Super Saiyan 4 Super Saiyan 3 Goku to Super Saiyan 4 Goku, the AGL one, is he can do that turn, and that can help you get a free turn of just normals pretty much, and you use that at the right time, you're now not getting stunned, and you can just do massive damage and finish off Super 17. So that is also a neat little trick. But again, it comes down to use all your actives towards the end, and you need to try counter and kill them as fast as possible. So key management helps as well, especially with Super Saiyan 4 Dimus. But let's jump to Saiyan Shenron now. Okay, so if you thought that was nightmarishly hard, we are not done just yet. We're now on to the 3-phase fighting in Shenron. So we're going to start with AGL Saiyan Shenron. He has 200 million HP, so again, not a massively tanky boss. We can kill him quite quickly, but he is doing a very big super. He's got a 6 mil Ki Blast super. He will also seal one enemy's super attack, which is super annoying, especially with if you are unlucky like me and got the Super Saiyan 4s sealed right off the bat. They are not going to be able to stack for their first turn, which is almost run ending, but not quite. We managed to do it. It is super irritating, and unless you have a senzu bean, you are not going to be getting out of that. But we don't have senzu beans because we're going to need the damage reduction for later on in this fight. So hopefully you've still got at least 3 items left to do this, because we're going to need it for the later stages of TEQ Shenron. So AGL Shenron, like I said, 6 mil Ki Blast super. So AGL Gogeta can help a lot as well here if you have him on in the first turn, and you can let him counter. He can super twice a turn as well. Like I said, he'll seal one enemy super attack. You also receive 70,000 damage per tech or physical key sphere obtained, so that's not fun, and then the other stuff as well. So just basically with AGL Shenron, you need to burn him down as fast as possible, and you need to hopefully just be able to kill him quickly, and the key management is a big part of it here as well. Now, it might be tempting to go into Super Saiyan 4 Goku, get the heal, all of that, but really try save that for later on. That is going to be very useful when we go into TEQ Shenron's domain and all that, so try save that, and save the actors for later as well. Basically, if you can get Daima Goku and you can get Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta AGL to do some big damage in a turn, you'll pretty much just burn AGL Saiyan Shenron down immediately, and he won't be too much of an issue. So we'll move on to the big boy TEQ Omega Shenron. Okay, so before I explain TEQ Omega Shenron here, you're going to see me pop 2 items, and let me just explain why that is. I would maybe This turn you'd think, oh, maybe not that big a deal, you don't really need an item, and I'd agree with you if the Super Saiyan 4s hadn't been sealed. So they are in a very bad spot right now, because TEQ Omega Shenron has a super attack that hits all enemies, so it's going to be 3.15 million damage once a turn, guaranteed, and he will hit all enemies with that, so that is going to be a lot of fun to deal with. He's going to recover HP every turn. Like I said, his super attack hits all units. AoE, he can super once per turn. He has AoE super hits for 3.15 mil. After 2 turns, he activates a domain that hugely boosts his damage, and we'll get to that in just a second. So, generally, I wouldn't have said pop 2 items and get like 75% damage reduction. If the Super Saiyan 4s had had enough time to actually, had a bit of time to actually get their defense up to like 1.5, they've also got guard, and then maybe we just pop an Icarus and then have an extra 35% damage reduction. We would pretty much be effectively immortal on the Daima Goku. We'd be fine with the Daima Vegeta as well with the extra 35% damage reduction. So yeah, I wouldn't stress too much about not using items. There's no mission for it. You are absolutely welcome to go for that. It's too much RNG in this fight for me to want to not do items at the end here. It's too long of a fight, it's too much RNG. So we're going to pop the items. We did unfortunately have to use 2 because of the sealing situation. And yeah, now we're going to just do as much damage to Mega Shenron as possible. He has 1.2 billion HP. Like I said, his damage is 3.15 mil super, and you get 2 turns, so 6 charges with him in this current state. Once that is done, we move over to another version of TEQ Shenron, and we're going to jump there quickly now because the first 2 turns are not that hectic. Just quickly before we move on though, this turn right before we go into the domain turn, don't stress about active skills, just pop them all the moment you get to TEQ Shenron and do as much damage as possible with him. Int Gogeta should be, everyone now actually is effectively immortal because of the amount of damage reduction we popped, so we just want to do as much damage as possible. That Int Gogeta should be fine if he counters. If he doesn't later on, it can be a pretty big problem, so that's why we're also going to be running a Wheeze when we run out of our other 2 items. Okay, so we've actually done a fantastic amount of damage here. We've nearly got half the, well, 60%, so 40% of the health gone here, and we've now, you can see there's a domain in the top right corner there under the 5 typings, and the only way to get rid of that domain is to bring your own domain. We don't have any units here that do domains, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the AGL Super Saiyan 3 giant form trick here. We currently have no active items, so we want to give ourselves a free turn of damage against this boss without having to use items. So we get the giant form out. He's going to do all his damage, not going to do too much. When he transforms into Super Saiyan 4 Goku, the counter for the turn wouldn't have moved forward, so the boss has effectively fired all his supers. Here you can see Omega Shenron firing a super here. He's fired all his supers at the giant form, which is immortal, and then when we come back to our normal turn, he will only be able to do normals, so we've effectively given ourselves a free turn without needing to use any items, and we can then just do some damage, and then we'll do an item, pop an item in the next part, the next turn. Okay, so now that you can see we're going to have Scouter active here, and because we've done that little giant form, we now have no super attacks aimed at us. We can just go ahead with this turn and just do all the damage we need to do, and then we'll pop a Wheeze on the next turn. Okay, final turn here. We managed to do a huge amount of damage on the previous turn. We're going to pop a Wheeze so that Daima Goku is functionally immortal. Gogeta is practically immortal then as well, 90% damage reduction, guard, all of that. And then Daima Vegeta could be a slight problem, but he should be fine with the extra damage reduction. We're bringing on, we've also got the extra, no, we don't actually have the extra damage reduction because that's for only Giant 8 power. So it should be fine, though. We're also getting a nice Dokkan attack with Goku here, and he's done his active as well, so we should be able to do a huge amount of damage with him and just finish off the fight. Now, just to say, the bigger problems with this team are later on are going to be TEQ, Vegeta, and pretty much your floats are the problem. Your rotations, your guys who are on rotation are going to be fine for the most part, but they can die. Unfortunately, it is a huge AoE that you're dealing with, so you just need to watch out for that, and that's why I'm recommending items, because yeah, I don't think this team would actually be able to do it without, unless you just get super lucky with your counters and with your and with where the supers are actually placed. We'll see right now how Vegeta does with the extra 40% damage reduction. So Daima Goku, no problem, Gogeta, no problem, and then actually Vegeta was okay with the extra damage reduction, so not to worry. And we're going to finish it out with Gogeta killing this boss. Sorry that this video is so long. I'm going to bookmark everything so you guys can just, if you just want to read up on the see what happened for each boss and all of that. This took me a while. I was getting incredibly unlucky, and yeah, there we go, finally done. And that is how you get it done and get your 15 stones, I think it is, for one of the hardest events. But anyway, all stones are welcome. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped. I'll check you guys in the next one. Goodbye.